Welcome to the latest edition of Anyone, Anywhere, Anytime with me, Marshane Kenny. Well, our football program has officially hit rock bottom. This is worse than 2012 ever was because I thought that was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. But here we are again. And, I was the biggest believer in Will Hall. I supported his cause and his message. But in year 3, the message is falling flat. It doesn't deliver things with a lot of purpose, with a lot of energy, with a lot of this is where we're headed, a lot of action plans. So unfortunately, in year 3, the message is falling flat to me. So, it's just, I can't support the message anymore. But one thing I do feel for the players, this is not the Southern Miss I know. I feel so bad for you guys because this is your college experience in 2023 and it shouldn't be like this. The Southern Miss we all know, it's tough, it's gritty, it's mean, it's salty, and it's fun. Because that's how we are. We're different. We go away from the norm. We have a chip on our shoulder, us against the world mentality. And that's why fans cheer for Southern Miss, because it's an in-your-face attitude like that. And I feel really bad that you guys don't get to experience that in 2023. So fan comments portion of this show has always been fun for me. And I'm getting a lot of those questions in this next segment that we call 4 and Out. So I'll pick 4 questions from Facebook, and here we go. First up, Pete. He asked, what's your take on Coach Hall? Do you think he has what it takes to get the job done? My simple answer is no. Next up, Ken Holmes said, as a former prospect, commit, signee, and player, how does the current situation affect decisions being made? Also, does low fan turnout actually affect players? First up, I can speak from my own experience. I fed off the energy of the fans, so absolutely low fan turnout. Really, I had to find extra avenues for energy, and I speak for a lot of players who feed off the crowd energy. So low fan turnout absolutely is a problem for the team sometimes. And then as far as a prospect, commit, signee, and player dealing with this situation, with this program in year 3 of Coach Hall, I don't even have to break it down to each level of player, prospect, commit. It's just bad all around. It's the lowest point in our program right now. And I just don't believe in what's going on anymore. And we've got to make some changes and got to make them pretty fast. Next up, Lori Morgan Ham says, who would you like to take Will Hall's place as head coach? So if Jeremy decides to make that decision and part ways, or Will Hall decides to go his separate way, what I'd like to see, and I've thought about this a lot, is a guy who we can believe in for next season. Somebody like, okay, he gets Southern Miss, he gets what we're all about, he's going to pump some energy into this. And one name's popping up in my head right now, and there's a lot of other good candidates, but it's Patrick Surtain Sr., the defensive back coach over at Florida State. I know I played with him. I'm not just saying that because I played with him, but I know what kind of guy he is. He is full of character, full of grit, full of intensity. When you say the hit in the Southern Miss world, you think of Patrick Surtain Sr. knocking the Houston's receivers' teeth out. He's a great coach on the high school level. He was voted the #1 coach in America several years ago on the high school level. So he knows how to recruit, and that was in the Florida area. He knows Mississippi. I'm sure he's got ties in Alabama. I'm sure he's got a lot of ties in Louisiana. We were both born and raised in New Orleans. I know he knows that market pretty well. And a lot of you may know about his incredible Miami Dolphin career for about 10 years down there. We're at a Pro Bowl career, so he definitely knows that Florida area very well. So that's a name popping up in my head that would get people believing pretty fast in what we're trying to do. And also one thing I want to see on the staff, though, this is just me, is a get-back guy. And if you don't know what that is, it's the guy you hire to hold back the coach, like get him back from the field because he's got so much energy that he's trying to run on the field and coach, or maybe get after a referee or what have you. So, but a real high energy program has one coach at least that's got a get back guy, or at least close to it. So hopefully you see what I'm getting at right there. Next up, David Moore. He asked me a pretty interesting question. Across all 3 major sports of football, basketball, baseball, who are the top 10 Southern Miss athletes of all time? I had to put a lot of thought into this one, and everybody's got their own list, but this is my 10 in no particular order. First up, Reggie Collier, Courtney Blades, Brett Favre, Matt Wallner, Adelius Thomas, Ray Guy, Janice Felder, Clarence Weatherspoon, Nick Samlin, Sammy Winder, and Tanner Hall. So I'd love to see your list, everybody, one day too. DM me, put them on social media for me to read. Love to read them. And then finally, actually going to add a fifth thing right here because we talk about it all the time because we need some energy in this program like yesterday. I mean, it's low right now. We need some energy. So my wife asked me and put it online, what would you do to pump some energy into the program? And well, I'd be focused on the next game because at this pace, there's probably not going to be a lot of fans with this this current status of Southern Miss football, unfortunately. So if you ask me, quick solution for the younger audience, even the middle-aged audience, and shoot, the older audience even likes this guy, what he did at the basketball game last year at the sellout, is DJ Cujo. I put him on a 3-foot stage in the student section area, pumping out some loud hits that everybody can kind of jam to. I love the Dixie Darlings also, getting into that kind of energy topic. I love the tradition when they come on the field, but there's also a dance team at the basketball arena. But I wouldn't mind seeing that, get some little energy going at that top of the rock walkway in the end zone area that we should have something up there anyway, Have the dancers up there pregame or maybe during the game with fireworks going off, just with some good energy music coming from DJ Cujo. Seymour doing something somewhere around the stadium that's fun and energetic. And then one more thing I'd plug in there on top of a lot of other things. Why not give everybody one free beer in the first quarter? Why not? I mean, I don't know. There's some quick solutions maybe to get some fans in the stands for the next game because the energy is really, really low. Well, thanks for all the questions, everybody, and hopefully I answered them to your liking. Well, like I said earlier, I am beyond fired up about today's interview. It comes with an absolute legend in the Denver Bronco world, an absolute legend in the Southern Miss world. So today's interview is with Sammy Winder. Well, today's interview is with an absolute legend in the Southern Miss world, an absolute legend in the Orange Crush Denver Bronco world. So with all that said, I'm bringing you the one and only, the legend, Sammy Winder. And Sammy, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
I mean, Sammy, I couldn't be doing better. Look at the smile on my face. I mean, I got Sammy Winder on my show, and your accolades are through the roof. You're on the Southern Miss Team of the Century. You're in the Southern Miss Hall of Fame. You're in the Mississippi Sports Hall of Fame. You were a 2-time Pro Bowler in the NFL. You went to the Super Bowl 3 times. But let's get right to what you're most known for in the Southern Miss world, in that superhuman leap against Ole Miss in 1980. I mean, Sammy, all this stuff that is just off the charts. How does it make you feel?
That was a play that you don't sit down and think about or imagine. It just happened. I got caught up in the moment, turned the corner and looking for the end zone. And looking back on it, I can't believe I did it myself.
I mean, Sammy, even with all the highlights and high flying stuff in this day and age, that leap right there would be on every highlight tape in America today. I mean, it was like they put a cape on you and you flew from the 5-10 yard line. It seemed like the 10-yard line at this point and just took off over that Ole Miss defense.
It was a great feeling. I probably have felt it more now in the latter years than I did when I did it because, like I say, I was just caught up in the moment. We was playing an interstate rival, and just the fans were full of people. It was just caught up in the moment and it happened.
Man, when I played there, I got stories of the leap about 1,000 times from coaches and players and fans, man. So it still resonates to this day. But Sammy, it all had to start somewhere for you, man, and that's Madison County, where you were one of 11 kids growing up on a farm. And your dad was the farmer, and you guys were farmhands. So talk about growing up.
Hey, we only had chicken one day a week, and that was on Sunday. And it was only one chicken killed. So that chicken had to be split 12, 13 ways. And Lord knows if the preacher came by, we had to give him a piece. But it was great, though. It was wonderful.
Oh, man, that's awesome. And but one thing, growing up like that, man, where did Sammy get his athletic ability from? And I came to learn a lot of it was chasing those farm animals around, man. Is that true?
It, it was dad chasing farm animals. We had to wrestle hogs. We had to wrestle calves, cows and whatever. It was that. And then I had older brothers that treated me like I was nothing. They always pushing me around. So I just had to ante up.
Yeah, and yes, you did, man. No greater competition than in-house brother competition. I know
You
that,
got
man.
that right.
Ooh, some fights and all that stuff, I'm sure, but all love, man, all love.
Yeah.
And you ran track too while you were there. And one thing I learned about you too, Sam, you got a little character side to you. You might have been the class clown every now and then in high school. Is that true too?
Well, I feel like life should be fun. So why not laugh? So I just put a little life in the classroom. And some people loved it. Some people were just okay with it. I don't think nobody hated it.
No, nothing wrong with putting people smiles on their faces, man. What
Yeah,
you did all the time, and
yeah.
then the smiles you put on faces, NFL and college career coming up. But man, what's amazing, Sammy, looking back at your legendary pro and college career, you only had one scholarship offer, and that was the Mississippi Valley. I learned, man. How's that happen to Sammy? Just one?
I don't know. There were teams coming by, sending representatives by at the high school football games, but apparently I didn't show them anything. I don't know, but Mississippi Valley stepped up with a scholarship, and that was the only one on the table. So I took it. But I wasn't comfortable being there. First time away from home, didn't know anybody. It just didn't feel right.
Well, and soon enough, things started feeling right for you. But you played in the Mississippi Alabama All Star game during that time, and you wound up breaking your foot, man. What was that kind of setback having to overcome
Well,
before college?
you as a young guy, you sit down and you have dreams and visions, and it was like all that had gone away when that happened because I thought that was the end of the road. But as you can see, it didn't. I pushed through it.
You did very well, and then the path took you, which is unbelievable to me. Like I said, just everything you did in your football career wound up walking on at
Right.
Southern Miss, man. I mean, but one thing about you, I know you have this mental toughness, this Southern Miss grit. They're like, I'm not going to be a walk on for long. But I mean, how was that fight an uphill fight as a walk on?
Well, it was one of those things where I just had to make a pact with myself that I was going to go out and do the very best job that I possibly could. Either I was going to bleed or somebody was going to bleed every day in practice. That was kind of the mentality that I had, and just after I got to learn the plays and the format, and uh, somehow worked my way right in there.
Oh, yeah, you did. And you did it early in your career, your freshman year. Y'all are playing Mississippi State, and you're down 17-0. And head coach Bobby Collins says, enough is enough. I'm giving Sammy Winder a chance, and the rest is history. You kind of took over that game, and y'all came back and beat Mississippi State. And just early on in your career, making big things happen. Surely you remember that day,
I
Sammy.
remember that was the jump start of my college career. Against Mississippi State, once again, an in-state rival, and I can recall just being so excited and so nervous and just all the things that go with being excited. And I just went in there and tried to do the best I possibly could. Ended up with 3 touchdowns. I don't know how that happened, but it was great.
Oh, and the stamp of approval was set at that point for Sammy Winder being the future of the running back position. And a cool thing happened the next year. A guy named Reggie Collier, that a lot of people in the Southern Miss world might be familiar with, he came on campus, and he tells a funny story. His first interaction meeting you, he said you had this blue and white conductor style hat on, and you had these tough looking pants on, and Reggie was kind of like, I don't know, that's kind of a guy I don't know if I want to mess with. He looks a little tough for me. And but do you remember all those first interactions with Reggie?
My first interaction with Reggie is more on the football field. Reggie was a guy that, just to look at him, you think he can't run. And he may not have been that guy that can get top speed from 0 to 10 yards, For 0 to 20 yards, unbelievable, unbelievable. And I think we saw that probably the first couple of practices that when he was there. I was like, this guy can play. Hey, Reggie might have something working here.
Oh, absolutely. It started working big time. And
Right.
what I love to talk about you guys' teams, all the impacts you made. You beat Ole Miss and Mississippi State. You beat them all
Right.
4 years you were there, Mississippi State, to where they wound up stop playing us, man. Does it feel good, knowing that? I mean, we're in the middle of your career, but the tone's being set that they don't want to play us.
Well, I really would like to think that's not the reason they stopped. Because if I think that's the reason they stopped, then I got to think of Sammy Winder and Reggie Kite. So I'm hoping that's not the reason. But man, did it feel good because we had both of us had teammates, high school teammates, or people we knew that went to those universities. And it's always great to have bragging rights on your side.
Oh, heck yeah, man. And, you guys are starting to make a name for yourself, especially in the state of Mississippi. And getting into your junior year, I mean, you and Reggie are just starting to be the guys in college football almost, this duo. You got Lewis Lips out there, wide receiver. And, but I just love telling these stories on this show. Reggie's known for all these yards, and you're known for all these yards. But you told Reggie one time I'd had 2,000 yards if
Right.
you would have pitched it more, Reggie.
Exactly. Because if I'm getting 4 yards a clip, and 4 yards 3 times, that's a first down. Reggie won run time and run for 60. Come on now. We need to march the ball down the field, take some time off the clock, and win the game. We don't need him to run for a touchdown and win the game.
Man, getting into this, I love you guys' relationships. It's awesome, some of the stories. But getting that 1980 season, your junior year, where you wind up leading the nation in touchdowns with 20 touchdowns with that opener, it's hard not to pinpoint. Y'all are playing in the Dome against Tulane on ABC TV. First time Southern Miss has ever been on TV. But you guys are making waves like that. What was the vibe knowing how big this game was?
We always thinking about what moves or what little gimmick we was gonna do if we score or if we made a big catch. We all had that in our minds that we was gonna do that, but none of us did that. But I'm just saying, leading up to it, you're excited because you have seen other colleges play on ABC, and now we got this opportunity. We need to make a statement. That's how we looked at it. But we went out and it was a hard fought game, but we came out on top, and it was wonderful to make that call to the house. And they say, "I saw you on TV." That was unbelievable.
Man, it had to be. And then at that time, there weren't that many games on TV. Y'all might have been one of three games,
Right.
all day, 4 games, man. So it was a big deal. Remember
Right.
Hattiesburg videos I've seen celebrating and partying that night. And when we mentioned the name, Coach Bobby Collins, at that time being your head coach. How was it being coached by such a legend now looking back?
I think Bobby Collins, in my opinion, was an excellent coach. He did a great job of motivating the talent that he had. I think he did a wonderful job. I mean, he was on us when he needed to be on us. He was patting us on the back when we needed patting on the back. Yeah, I think he was a wonderful coach.
Oh yeah, y'all did some wonderful things too. And Sammy getting in this 80 season, all the stories you hear from Southern Miss world. There's one play. I mean, to me, it just sticks out the most. And we're playing Ole Miss. I led into it early in the interview. I just want to get detail with it. The leap. When you say the leap in Southern Miss world, and Sammy Winder, what I'm in my brain now, taking off from the 10, you got a cape on, and we beat Ole Miss. Man, walk me through that day beating Ole Miss, that play, and just what it means to you
Well,
years later.
this is how the day started. We started splitting traffic coming from Hattiesburg when we came into Florence. Florence is still about 20 miles out from the stadium, and we had to split traffic coming down. So our faces were glued against the window because we had never seen that before, never experienced that before. And we get to the stadium, so we always do a walkabout in the stadium, and there was an Ole Miss fan shouted out some words about my mom. We just walking about. I mean, I don't hold it against him since we beat him. I don't hold it against him, but I'm just saying that just started, that turned the heat up under the boiler, and then we uh, started playing, and I think we all was hyped to the max. I think we all was playing just because defense played well. We made some great plays other than the play we're talking about on offense. But that particular play was pitched around the left side. I was just determined to get to the end zone. I just all I could say. I was determined to get in the end zone at all costs, and I didn't know from the dough that I was going to jump. It just reaction, bam, in the air, in the end zone, touchdown.
Oh man, like I said, at this point, I've seen that it pops up all the time in Southern Miss world and social media, and that at this point, basically, Sammy Winder was superhuman and had a cape on that day, and we beat Ole Miss.
Yeah.
So, but does it feel good when you see that picture and see that video? Just every year it pops up, man.
Yeah, I mean, I still get goosebumps when I see it now. I get goosebumps. I mean, it's. I can't believe that I did that. I. It was hard for me to say that I had the ability, the athletic ability, to make a play like that, but apparently I did.
Yeah, absolutely, you did, man. And you guys had one heck of a season that year with 9 wins, getting the top 20 during the season, and which takes you to the Tangerine Bowl, or excuse me, the Independence Bowl. Let me correct myself: Independence Bowl versus McNeese State. And back then, there weren't as many bowls. I mean, that was a big deal, Sammy. I mean, huge. What it feel like being in a bowl?
It was great all the way around because it was close enough to a lot of our fans could travel to because it's in Louisiana, in Shreveport, Louisiana. And my family could come. Players from Mississippi family didn't have far to go. So it was great all the way around. And for us to go to the bowl, uh, it was like we was going to Sugar Bowl or the Cotton Bowl to us. It was that same type of feelings. And we played a good team that played hard. I mean, they gave us a run for our money, but we pulled it out. That's one of the incidents when Reggie should have given me the ball, but he kept it around the end for a touchdown to win the game. Right there, that's a prime example.
Come on, Reggie. I mean, I know Sammy's legendary in the Southern Miss world, but he could even be more legendary. I mean, Reggie, you
Exactly.
watching this? Come on, man. You should have
Yeah,
helped Sammy out a little more. I love all that.
I
But,
know.
but Sammy, bowl win, top 20 rankings on TV. I mean, you're just making an impact at Southern Miss now with these teams. Just doing big things that we hadn't done before, which gets into the 1981 season, your
Yeah.
senior year. And to me, Sammy, big respect to you guys. That's the greatest Southern Miss team in the history of Southern Miss. And I was on a good one, but it doesn't match up with what you guys did. Did you know you guys are going to be that good that year?
No, uh, I can't say I knew that we was going to be that good. I knew we was going to have a good team. We had some outstanding athletes. They wasn't necessarily the big ideal type guys, but guys like Gerald Bayless. I don't think he's been blocked yet, not consistently anyway. You know, like I say, Reggie. We had Louis Lips. I mean, it was just unbelievable the talent that we had. And like I say, Coach Collins, I thought he did a great job of uh, putting that talent together. And I'll tell you a story. We had a guy on defense, George Too Tall Tillman. Okay. And George he was a great linebacker, outside linebacker. All right. But George wasn't the greatest cover guy. So the coaches made a decision, bring him every time. We'll get somebody else in that position to cover that spot. And you wouldn't be amazed at the number of times that George got to the quarterback. I mean, it was just we had talent everywhere.
On top of you, Reggie, Lewis, Lips, I mean, that nasty bunch defense, too, on top of it, led the nation in points given up with 8
Right,
on the season. I mean, that's
right.
what I'm saying. And on top of these wins we're about to get into, there's 3 of them, Sammy. And or
Yeah,
one of them's a tie, but it was almost a
right.
win. So the first one I'll get into, top 10 Alabama. Bear Bryant, Alabama. They're on a near 50-game home win streak. You guys walk in, get a 13-13 tie. And I'm sorry, I know you guys want to win games, obviously, but that tie was a win that day. I'm sorry
That
to be.
was a win. That was a win because they had really spanked us the year before. I mean, they spanked us good. And that was a win. I can tell you that right now. The way we reacted and the way we felt, that was unbelievable because we went into Alabama and tied Alabama at home. Bear Bryant. That was a win for us, no doubt.
Yeah, the video celebrating after that was a win. I know you want to win games and you're disappointed, but no, that was a win. So thank you for
Yeah,
solidifying my thoughts right there, Sammy, with
yeah,
that one. And then another game that year, you're playing an excellent Mississippi State team, top 15. They're number 14 in front of 64,000 fans up in Jackson.
right.
And you guys get a gritty, mean, salty win 7-6. How was that day playing when you guys are fighting for every inch?
Well, Mississippi State had some great guys on their team on both sides of the ball. And they had some outstanding athletes on the defensive side of the ball. But we also had some outstanding athletes on the defensive side of the ball. So it was a defensive struggle all day. Uh, you know, I think no team recorded any high numbers in any one area, but uh, to pull that out in Jackson, at, to us, it was almost like at home, also, because we probably had just as many fans in the stands they had. It was unbelievable.
Oh yeah, some unbelievable pictures from that day too still float around, and just what a special day to be a Golden Eagle. But and Sammy, as gritty and as tough and fighting for every yard that game was,
Yeah,
man, you talk about complete opposite on offense. And I'm going to give everybody right here another thing. Y'all were the greatest team, part of the biggest, most impressive win in Southern Miss history. Playing top 20 Florida State on the road. There's a Florida State team that had beaten Ohio State, Notre Dame, LSU that year. And Sam, I just love teeing it up like this. And you can take the rest. You guys were up 51-0 in the third quarter. Come on,
right.
Sammy. Come on, Sammy. Tell me
I'm gonna
about
tell
that
you,
day, man.
I can remember before we left Hattiesburg, Coach Collins come in the dressing room with a newspaper in his hand, and he says, "The paper says there's only one team has a tougher opening than Southern Miss," and he says, and that's Florida State, and we bought into that. I mean, that was like wow, because he had the paper in his hand, right? So
But
he
you think
got the
he's reading
paper.
this? You think he's reading?
Yeah, he got looked like he's reading from the paper. And I mean, we went down there pumped and ready to go. And once again, uh, you know, uh, Reggie did his thing, of course. I had like a 60-yard run. They say I stepped out of bounds. They call it back. Reggie goes 60. They hold their hands up in there. I mean, come on now.
Man,
But
Sammy, I'm noticing
that,
a little favoritism towards Reggie at the theme of this, man.
yeah,
Come on. Come
exactly,
on now.
exactly. But that was a game where we did very, very little wrong. And even when we did something wrong, it still turned out right, seemed like.
No.
And we went, well, we were ready to play. I mean, Florida State had an excellent team, had some great athletes. I played with a couple of those guys in Denver, and they was telling me, they said, "Man, we ain't never had a shellacking like that." Yeah,
Ever. And just for the stage and who you beat and how you
yeah,
did it,
right,
it's the most impressive win I've ever seen in Southern Miss history. When you watch the video back, it's like they were in slow motion. Even the run you were talking about, y'all were just at another speed that day. I mean,
right.
talking about player perspective, did it feel like I'm just I'm on another level today. There's nothing I can do about it.
It, you know, it felt like, you know how when you get going and that feeling builds and builds and builds and builds, and that's kind of what it was like. We was excited from the door when we walked out on the field and kicked off, and we scored a touchdown. Now you get that momentum, get to growing and growing and growing. And like I say, I'm not gonna say we did everything right, but some of the stuff that we didn't do right turned out right because we was hyped up and ready to go.
If you want to break the rock, you need to make yourself indestructible. If you want to play between the hedges, you need to work out there, up there, down there, everywhere. If you want to reach the win bar, you need to lose sleep, lose count. You need to play every game like you got nothing to lose.
Yes, you were. What an impressive day to be a Golden Eagle, and we remember that one always. And took you guys to a top 10 ranking, unprecedented in the AP polls for Southern Miss, doing huge things, and wound up going to the Tangerine Bowl. I know you guys had bigger plans and all this stuff, but like I said, going to a bowl back then was a big deal,
Well,
Sammy.
it was a really big deal. And the Tangerine Bowl, none of us hung our heads about that. We was excited going to Florida.
And talk about that day and kind of let's just say what it is, man. It's the end of your Golden Eagle career, and how'd that feel at that point? Kind of looking back on everything you did.
Well, I hadn't let that particular game spoil my memories of college football, my college days playing football, 'cause I had some great, outstanding memories of games and days and teams that I played against. Yeah, you always want to win. Don't get me wrong. You always want to win. We came up short, but just to get there and the things that we did to get there was unbelievable.
Yeah, I just gave the laundry list of stuff y'all did that season. It goes down. Everybody's going, how can you argue with the greatest Southern Miss football team in history? So kudos, man. Salute to you and that 81 team, Sammy.
Thank you very much.
And then kind of read some stats too. By the time you're done at Southern Miss, 3,114 yards, second all time, and you held the school record with 39 touchdowns. So Sammy, you were imprinted in the record books for sure all over the place. And
thank you very much.
Sammy, you got the talent to go to the NFL. There is no doubt about it. Yeah. So what are your thoughts right there when it's over about this NFL draft coming up?
I didn't think I had the talent to play professional football because I'm looking at Dorsett going 99 on Monday Night Football. I'm looking at Earl Campbell running over tackler after tackler. I'm looking at all these guys, and when I came out, that was the year of the running backs. And I think about 6 or 7 went in the first round that year. And I was like, man, how? And Denver drafted a running back in the first round that year. I was like, man, how am I going to make this team? But I was excited again because that was a boyhood dream. I'm out there chasing that cow, thinking about professional football. So, and that dream came true for me. So I went there once again. That thought of either I'm gonna bleed or somebody gonna bleed every day because I'm gonna give it my all.
Oh, considered one of the greatest Denver Bronco running backs in history, and we're going to get into some of those details, Sammy. But I want to ask you about something, man, because we're Southern guys, man. I'm telling you, Sammy, the temperature gets below 50. I kind of run out of juice sometimes. I need a blanket, man. And you're going from the deep South heat to this Denver snow. What was that like? What was that adjustment like?
It was unbelievable. I mean, it would get cold out there, cold. And in the past I've seen those games before I went to the Broncos. I've seen those games where the teams are playing in the snow, and I'm like, how do they do it? Well, you're about to find out. Here we go. But my first year out, I think the temperature got down in the single digits. it was cold. And I wasn't playing a lot then. That there's playing a little bit. It was cold.
Yeah, there's an adjustment for us deep south guys, much less
Yeah.
the snow, man.
Right.
And but during your rookie year, I saw an interesting story on you. Legendary Denver Bronco head football coach Dan Reeves.
Right.
You're still kind of, I'm a rookie. Am I going to make this team? Does the coach approve of me or not? And you told me a story or I saw a story where if he did a certain move your way or had his pen in his mouth when he talked to you. Tell me about that, where you knew you had Dan Reeves' approval.
Well, it was this. He was on us. It was me and about 4 or 5 other rookies that he would just be on every day at practice. And he would walk toward us with his hand like this, pointing out, and he'd kind of be biting his bottom lip and saying a few choice words, and so we were all in the locker room one day, and we were saying, "Man, we ain't gonna make this team because we can't do nothing right. Everything we do, coach is on us." And one of the veteran guys walked by and heard us say that, and they said, "Man," he said, "is he walking towards you doing like this? He got his lip tucked in when he talking to you. As long as he's doing that, you're okay." So, so after that, and we made a mistake, and he walked toward us. Oh, he was happy, happy, happy because we knew we had a shot.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love those stories, man, from the NFL. And you got to win the coach's approval, and you did pretty fast.
Exactly.
And you're dealing with a legendary head coach, Dan Reeves, and you make it through your rookie year. It's obvious you're a Denver Bronco now, but that '83 draft, something happens that Denver Bronco fans definitely approve of. The draft quarterback, John Elway.
Ron Elway. That's right.
How was that his first season there? And, obviously what he became and the legend you became. But I heard there's some stories about the rocket arm that he had.
Oh, he had an unbelievable arm. And, as a running back, you are expected to be in the passing game. So we would have a juggling machine. They would turn it up to as high as it would go to spit that ball out to us. And we had to catch 50 before we could go in, so because that's simulating his arm, But John was, his rookie year, it was a learning experience for him. But after that, he took off and it was unbelievable. But uh, John was a great, in my opinion, draft decision for the Broncos.
Who in the backfield you all form? My goodness. Man, it's dangerous. Elway and Winder in the backfield. And your career's moving along, man. You're the Denver Bronco running back guy, fan favorite. And an interesting story happens with a Southern Miss guy involved. So you're playing Pittsburgh in the playoffs. Y'all are 13-3 in '84. But before we get to who the person is, man, you had to have your knee scoped 13 days before the game, and you still played. You talk about toughness. How was that doing that fast? Get back on the field.
It was, it was scary because knee injury is one of the injuries that puts your career to an end, and everybody know that. Everybody leery of that. I mean, you walking in the locker room. That's the one thing that the guys are trying to protect from happening because they know that could be the end of your career. And when I had that and I had my knee scope, it was scary. It was. But as each day passed, my knee felt a little better, a little better, and a little better. And by the time the game came around, I was ready to go. I mean, I can't pinpoint what exactly took place to make it that way, but it turned out that way, and I'm very thankful.
I like to say it's Southern Miss grit, Sammy, that was deep inside your bones. Yeah. But getting on to who that player was for the Pittsburgh Steelers that day in that playoff game, Lewis Lips. I mean, your teammate from Southern Miss. How was that looking across the field in such a big matchup, seeing one of your teammates from college?
Before the game, I'm going to kick you. But after the game, it was great. It was great. I was happy for Lewis. Lewis was an excellent athlete in college as well as with Pittsburgh. It was good to because how I felt about it and how we had played together, it was good to, if I'm gonna lose, I'm losing to somebody that I really admire.
Yeah, what a story right there, man. With the knee scope still playing that fast, Lewis Lips playing against, man. That's great
Yeah.
Southern Grit stories right there. But Sammy, we hit it earlier back in the high school days, man. You had a fun character side to yourself, so it's only fitting that if you get a touchdown dance going, you're going to make it right and call it the Mississippi Mud Walk. Man, that
Mississippi
got
Mudwalk.
legendary in the '80s, man.
Yeah.
What's the design of that dance? Tell me about it. How'd you come up with that?
It was just something that just came up. I had played a couple games and scored a touchdown or two, and the guys say, "You just throw the ball down and come back to the sideline. You need to do something." So I would just come up with something. And I wasn't looking for it to catch on as strong as it did, and it caught on, and man, it caught on so much till I scored a touchdown. And Dan Reeves fussed at me when I got to the sideline because I did. Unbelievable.
You can't make coaches happy all the time,
Yeah.
Sam. You know that.
Yeah.
They'll gripe at you for scoring a touchdown, I bet, but just because you stepped wrong or something, you scored a touchdown, but you did it wrong. I love all that.
Yeah.
But man, what a dance right there in the '80s, and a great dance decade too. And man, let's get into you had the leap at Southern Miss, and you're a part of something coming up too that's iconic in the NFL. It's known as the drive. So in 1986, you lead the AFC in scoring. You're playing the AFC Championship game against the Cleveland Browns.
Right.
You got to make a drive to tie the game. There's 5 minutes left on the clock. You got to go 98 yards. Talk about that buildup, making it happen, but just walk me through the huddle, all this stuff. That's one of the most iconic drives ever.
We run on the field. We huddling up in the end zone. We run on the field, and our right guard, Keith Bishop, said, "We got him right where we want him." And we all give him that look like, what? we got the length of the field to go. And he made a statement like that. And after that, it just started happening for us. One play after another, it started happening for us. And that was the opportunity to go to the Super Bowl, and that is every ball player's dream, is to play in the Super Bowl. And that was just tremendous that it turned out that way. And once again, it's one of those things that you can't imagine that's going to turn out like that, but it did. And the drive probably that was the first Super Bowl we went to while I was there. And that'd probably be the one that stands out the most going forward.
So yeah, Sammy, I mean, your first Super Bowl coming from the farm in Madison County all the way to the biggest stage in the world, just about it. One thing about this game with the New York Giants, you look across the field, there's an intimidating force over there, at least in my eyes, the name of Lawrence Taylor. How is that knowing you're about to compete against LT?
You're exactly right. I mean, Lawrence Taylor, I can recall we game planned for Lawrence Taylor. It was that was our whole attack was always have the ball going away from him, or having two guys on him if the ball was coming to him. But the other thing too is it's the Super Bowl. I mean, you got to go out and you got to play, and you got to do it. And we had an opportunity to go in halftime up. I think it would have been 17-7, I believe.
It was tied at halftime, and then pulled away a little bit in the second half. But y'all were in there,
we were tied at halftime. We was down on like the 3-yard line and couldn't punch it in right before half. Yeah.
Well, they were stout on defense, though, Sammy. But I mean, you were part of the Super Bowl, man, and then looking back, you finished the Super Bowl and you didn't win, but man, was it a hero's welcome back in Mississippi? And just when vibes got back and you talked to people?
Oh yeah. I was getting pats on the back from my enemies, who made it to the Super Bowl. But it was, like I say, that's the dream of every player that's playing right now today, that their team is going to play in the Super Bowl. and that was our dream. And that experience was just unbelievable. It's hard to put into words.
And Sammy, I mean, at that point, you're becoming one of the best running backs in the history of Denver Bronco football, one of the best running backs in the NFL easily. But you're not done with Super Bowl stuff yet. Next season, what do? You go right back and play Washington. How is that getting back-to-back Super Bowls?
I don't know. That's always your goal coming into training camp. That was, when we played the Giants, I felt like that we went out and dominated most of the teams that we played against to get that opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. When we played against Washington, I felt like that it was just unbelievable things would happen at the right moment to give us an opportunity to win, to go play in the Super Bowl. All right. And I think that's what happened that year. Not that we didn't have a good team. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying we down by 5 points, and John laid the ball up, and the defender tips it up in the air, and our receiver catches it and runs it in for a touchdown to win the game. It was things like that happened, which was unbelievable. But it was, and once again, we had to play the Cleveland Browns together.
There you go, man. Cleveland Brown fans, I know they look at you with a tough eye sometimes, Sammy, all the hard times you gave them. But Sam, an unbelievable thing happens. You went to 2 Super Bowls. I know you didn't win them, but dang, Sammy, you're going to back Super Bowls. 1990, your last year in the league. What do? You go again. I mean, at that point, you're like, this is my 3rd one.
Yeah, well, I can't make this up. I mean, it's just one of those things what you hope and pray for, and it happens. The results is not what I wanted, prayed for, but just the goal, man, that was tremendous.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just from going, it's just amazing to say that Sammy Winder was a walk-on at Southern Miss, and now you're doing some of the biggest things you can possibly do in football, like literally. So just unbelievable. In that game, too, I want to ask you something. So the 90 Super Bowl against the San Francisco 49ers, your 3rd one, Joe Montana, Jerry Rice is there, but I learned one of the hardest hitters of all time, and the guy you said was the toughest guy that you ever went against as far as hit was Ronnie Lott.
Lott.
Tell me some stories about Ronnie Lott and trying to contact him on a run.
We played them about a year or 2 earlier in the regular season. And Ronnie Lott, I mean, man, he was just flying all over the field. Back then you could lead with your helmet, Ronnie. That's illegal. But he hit me, and I'm telling you, I was in the cold whirlpool all the next week. Ronnie Lott could hit, and we watched game films of him hitting other people. He could hit.
Oh yeah, I was a defensive guy. I used to watch Ronnie Lott all the time, and the epic story of chopping his finger off to keep playing instead of taking time off. That's unbelievable. But I see you might have said Ronnie Lott. But dang, Sammy, what an epic football career. 3 Super Bowls, greatest football team in Southern Miss history in 81, back-to-back bowls, top 10. I don't know where to begin or end. And with the Denver Broncos, too. And to you, I don't want to mess this up. You were 3rd all-time in Denver rushing yards of 5,427 yards. So looking back at everything you did in football at that point, when you call it a career in 1990, I mean, what are you thinking, Sam? Like, wow.
I'm going to tell you what's the amazing thing about all of that you probably won't believe, but it's true. There's no team that I played on where I was the best athlete at running back. No team. Now, I may have been the hardest runner, the more determined, but as far as being the more versatile, I was not. Well, and I think that's the one thing that I think I kind of hang my hat on the most.
I mean, and to even vouch further from that, Reggie, the first thing out of his mouth, besides y'all joking with each other, what he said is, Man, he worked hard. God, did he work hard. So, and that's what it's all about, Sammy. I worked the
Right.
opponent. You definitely did. You did big things, and two-time Pro Bowler too in the NFL. I don't accolades are through the roof, Sammy. But life after football, where I heard a
Life
story, you were
after
kind of
football.
pretty fascinated with bulldozers. So you decided to kind of get in
Exactly.
construction field.
Well, I've always worked, even growing up on the farm with tractors and bulldozers. I was always fascinated with that, and going play pro ball gave me an opportunity to get into that, and I got into that, and I love it.
And to this day, right?
To
To
this
this day,
day,
running.
I'm still
Yeah,
doing it. Still doing it. Yeah,
Winder Construction, yeah. So
right. I'm
absolutely.
still doing
Anybody,
it. Yeah.
I'm going to promote for you. Anybody needs some construction needs, Sammy Winder's your guy,
All
obviously.
Sammy Winder. That's right.
There you
That's
go,
right.
man. So from just the great Sammy Winder, what's a message you might have for the Southern Miss fans?
Uh, First of all, you got to stay positive. Negative doesn't get you anywhere. You got to stay positive. Yeah, we not doing very well from a win-loss standpoint, but still, there are some Sammy Winders on that football team that need your encouragement and need your clap and your attendance at the games. We just need to stay together, and I believe that we'll come back.
Great message from the great Sammy Winder. So, Sammy, you have no idea how much of an honor it was to get you on my show today from a man who I picture flying over Ole Miss's defense back in 1980. That picture's all over the place to everything you did on the drive with the Denver
Right,
Broncos, man. You're basically like one of my heroes, Sammy. So this is pretty
right.
awesome. So, Sammy, I think a great way to close this show would be for the great Sammy Winder and myself giving everybody a big Southern Miss.
To the top.
There you go. The hat comes off and everything. Sammy. Well, that's it for another edition of Anyone, Anywhere, Anytime. And I want to mention another show I'm doing with my wife that I'm just as excited about. We talk on marriage topics, sports topics, but it's a lot of fun. You can kind of see how the Kennys act behind the scenes on camera. I don't know if I worded that right, but it's called Deep Balls. You can watch it on the same platforms you're watching me right now. So once again, Deep Balls, talking sports, marriage, all sorts of fun stuff. Well, until next time, as always, it's Southern Miss to the top.